You're listening to The Insider, the official podcast for the city of Murfreesboro. Welcome. I'm Mike Browning. Our topic for our discussion today in this podcast is the Journey Home, and it's a resource for the unhoused of Murfreesboro. Our guests are the Executive Director, Scott Foster, and Liz Couser. She is the Director of Development and Marketing. It's good to have both of you with us.
Good to be here.
Especially on a topic that is a concern for everyone, a concern for people that want to help people who have gotten themselves into this situation that is difficult, and even a concern for some people who may have some fears, right? Sure. And they have concerns about it in their community. So the Journey Home is very familiar to people. Scott, how did it all get started?
That's a great question. The Journey Home, what is the Journey Home today, sort of started as what I felt like was a call God put on my life. I didn't spend most of my career doing social services or ministry work in the community, but back in 1982, I felt like God had sort of opened a door for me to work with folks that were struggling physically and spiritually in their lives. And then fast forward to 2004, I kind of came under conviction that now was the time. I moved here from Memphis via Nashville in 1993, and so I've been here a long time in our community. And back in 2004, it just seemed to me that God had placed me where He wanted me to launch out into this work. And we were all volunteers at the time that we started Journey Home. In fact, for several years, we were all volunteers, and I had some wonderful folks at some different local churches that, we were sort of working together already. The community cafe sort of existed before the Journey Home. But we had 5 churches that were working together just to do some day-to-day ministry needs weekly in our community with folks that were experiencing homelessness. And, what is Journey Home today kind of got birthed out of that.
And the name Journey Home, how was that born?
That was born in a lot of time thinking about it over at the library at MTSU. When I left my corporate job, to launch out into this, I needed to go and get some education and spend some time over at the university studying sociology, social work, those kind of courses, social psych, and also spending other time in other ministries that do a similar thing throughout the Southeast, and just learning from their experiences. And the one thing that I understood was that there were no quick fixes. Typically, people don't get to the point where they're experiencing housing instability and homelessness quickly. It happens over time. And similarly, the move, the change to move from where they are in a new direction, that's a journey. It's not something that just happens in one single step, but instead many small steps that help people move in a new direction.
What services do you provide at your current location on Castle Street?
So the current location on Castle Street provides primarily basic needs services and then housing, counseling, and coaching. So we have meals 7 days a week. We provide a couple of meals a day, food staples. We have clothing and personal care items. People can come and shower, use facilities and shower there, do their laundry. There are a lot of things that people sort of take for granted. When you can get clean and put on some clean clothes and present yourself well, it helps you present yourself as a worthy person, a person of value.
It's an emotional need that people have.
That is an emotional need. And when we think about that hierarchy of needs that people have, most of that bottom row, if you think back from Psych 101 class in college, that happens at home. That happens in the home. And for folks that don't have that place, sometimes they lack a sense of belonging and also a difficulty in maintaining those basic needs that they have. So, we've kind of used basic needs and housing as a way to help people move forward. And certainly relationships. Relationships are very critical to that because in many cases, people have become isolated, and they need good folks around them to help them move forward.
So the numbers of people that come through your facility on a daily basis, how has that changed over the years?
It's sort of grown steadily over those years. It kind of dipped a little bit during the COVID pandemic. We found that a lot of people were able to sort of, I guess, have more generosity shown by family and friends so that they would have a stable place to be.
That's interesting.
But has grown back up after that. And it's sort of mirrored our growth as a community. My friend Tom Christie, who just recently passed, he would always tell me, he said, of the 23 or 22 people that come new to Rutherford County every day, not all of them are captains of industry. And that's surely true. People come to new areas for opportunities for themselves and their families to grow and prosper. And, sometimes folks come and they wind up finding out that everything doesn't work out exactly the way they had hoped. And then, sometimes, folks wind up stranded and not moving as quickly as forward as they want. But I tell you, a lot of the folks that we serve, and we serve, 2,400 unique individuals each year are impacted by our work. And the vast majority of those have been here for years and years, many born and raised here. But, just like any community that's growing as rapidly as Murfreesboro and Rutherford County grows, and has grown for a long time, then we have a lot of new folks in the area as well.
You and others recently broke ground for what will become a new facility for Journey Home, the new location on Old Salem. I think people have seen renditions of what it will look like, and you're in the process of building, but tell us about that, what that will do.
Sure. The new building will allow us to continue to offer the basic needs services that we currently offer and expand our housing counseling and housing coaching, employment-related services, health and mental health services through partnerships on site. And one of the big changes is that we will have some interim housing for families with children. We have a lot of families that are experiencing homelessness today. In fact, last school year, between our city and county school systems, we had over 2,700 of our students enroll in federally funded homeless student services. And of course, that doesn't count mom or dad or other non-school age siblings. So we have a significant number of families that are experiencing homelessness. So in these new interim housing units, it allows us to have a safe space for families to be while we are working with them, and they are laying the foundation to getting back into regular rental housing in the community.
These will all be in the same building, but they'll be separated in some way?
That's correct. They're in a separate part of the building from the other day services.
And what else will you have? You'll have a kitchen. You have a kitchen now, right?
Sure. We'll have a commercial kitchen and dining facility. The dining room's roughly the same size as the one we currently have. We'll also have a pantry where folks can get personal care items, clothing, food staples, and other things like that they need. On the second floor, we'll have primary care services for health. We'll also have some other counseling and mental health services through partners that are co-locating with us on site. And we'll also all be able to be together again. Liz and I have been officing over at First Baptist Church for the last several years because we just ran out of space.
But now you'll have an office in that building.
Now we'll all be back together again. And one of the things that people don't know about Journey Home is that we operate homes and apartments throughout our community. We've got about 30 homes and apartments that we use to for permanent housing for folks with disabilities, those who've experienced homelessness, and also longer-term transitional housing to help people get back into regular community life. And so even our housing manager has had to be officed over at First Baptist. They've been so gracious to us. They work with us at the Coldest Nights program, which is another program that we operate during the cold weather season like we're in right now, between First Baptist and St. Paul's Episcopal Church. So it's just been a real community effort
Great.
to come together and try to help folks in need.
Liz, what was it like on that day to see all the people that gathered together as a community to break ground for the new building?
Well, it was wonderful, and it was a reminder of what we already knew. The community loves the journey home, and that was evident through the groundbreaking and the people who attended. We had a champagne toast. People toasted the new facility, and we had leadership there from the people who gave to help us raise the money to build the building. Christy Houston Foundation was there, and they supported us, along with several other people in the community that gave leadership gifts.
And were you involved in helping generate that type of support in order to build the new building?
Yes, I worked with the Capital Campaign Committee, and we called on people, and everybody thinks that when you're doing a capital campaign that it's going to be raised through a few large gifts. And this campaign was made up of many community members giving what they could to support the journey home. And that's not surprising to me, because the community and the people who live here love the journey home so much. And it's people like you and I. And
Will that be different, being at a different location in terms of, you've got people that you're serving who've become accustomed to it being at one location. You think there'll be a good adjustment, an easy adjustment in relocating?
I do, for a number of reasons. A lot of the people we serve do have cars. They've chosen between having a roof over
house
their
or a
head
car, yeah.
or a car, so they do have cars. And for those who live outside, a lot of them live close to where our new location is going. And the Rover route runs on Middle Tennessee, which is about a block from our new location.
Yeah, I've heard other people talk about that the Murfreesboro Transit will be very close by, and that's going to be good for overall services for everyone
It sure will.
in that community.
It really will. And our clients, they love the journey home, and they consider the journey home their home. And so some of them are like, well, I don't know if I'm going to that new location or not, but I promise you when they see the new location, they'll be very happy to be there.
Yeah, I think that the transition will go fairly smoothly. Where we are right now is located just right in the middle of the historic Bottoms redevelopment district. And the city is doing a lot of work there along Broad Street, and that area is really going to be a great gateway into the downtown community. And, the folks that we serve have been part of that area and part of that community for a long time. But the truth of the matter is, we're not moving very far away from where we are currently. Actually, it's a little bit less than a mile down the road, down Old Salem, going right out of our driveway. So in many ways, I think that the transition will be pretty smooth.
How many unhoused people are there in Rutherford County? I assume that there are others who serve the unhoused as well, not just Journey Home. But
Sure. We've got lots of great partners in this community. And as Liz was mentioning, just through churches, through other nonprofits and social service agencies, through government agencies. I mean, this truly is a community that comes together to take care of its own and to help people move forward and take advantage of the opportunities that we have here in the area. And when you talk about the number of folks experiencing homelessness, it's those numbers are going to vary a little bit depending on how you want to
How you
define
classify it, yeah.
homelessness.
Right.
But let me just say, I mentioned before we had 2,700 students enroll in homeless student services between our two school districts. I would suspect that at least 5,000 people have experienced homelessness at one level or another in this past year. in our community. But that's different for each different household.
Because people go in and out sometimes.
That's right. Some people may experience no place to stay for a few weeks. Some people they may be there the entire year. They may be in and out of housing, or couch surfing, as some folks might like to call it. But it's different for different folks.
We hear of the term chronically unhoused or chronically homeless. What does that mean, really?
So, like we were mentioning, different folks experience housing instability and homelessness differently. For the folks that we consider chronic, those are folks that have been homeless for long periods of time, or multiple periods of time that basically aggregate to a long period of time, usually also with some type of disabling condition, a chronic medical condition, serious mental illness, addiction, trauma histories, but basically the length of time and the level at which they experience homelessness, and the amount of resources it takes to kind of help get them back into community in a way that creates stability for them, and also where they can contribute into community.
Somewhat related to that, and this is going to be maybe somewhat of a difficult question, but I think it's important for us to ask in terms of what people learn. I walk the Greenway sometimes on my own, and every now and then you might see someone that wouldn't necessarily just be there, but it might be on the street somewhere, where you can tell that they're having some kind of difficulty. They might even be talking to themselves or struggling with something. What's the best way for a member of the community that's walking by someone like that to approach them, even if you're just walking by, acknowledge them, not to just ignore them? I mean, is there any advice you can give on something like that?
That's a great question, and I think that each person has to make decisions based on their own level of comfort. But I would like to encourage people, when you are interacting with someone that may be facing challenges, they may be struggling, treat them like you would any other person. Treat them kindly. Don't just look the other way or march back quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that is more that says you don't belong, more than feeling isolated, feeling like people don't want to talk to you, feeling like people don't want to acknowledge that you even are there.
Right.
And so I encourage people to wave or nod or say hello, or just like you would anybody else
Acknowledge
that you
them
walk
that
past
they're
on the
there,
street.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you're going to stop and have a long conversation with somebody that you don't know, because you wouldn't do that ordinarily anyway. But treat people kindly, treat people well. No matter what's going on in their life, because you might be the one person that day that spoke to them. You might be the one person that took the opportunity to have a kind word, and that can really be encouraging.
Why do some within the homeless or unhoused community choose to stay in that position? In other words, they don't even necessarily want services from Journey Home that you provide.
That's another good question, and we're talking about a small minority of people. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I guess now I've been doing this almost 20 years, and I have run into folks that are just disengaged, and there are different reasons. Sometimes people don't want the responsibility, or maybe not, they don't want the responsibility, but they don't believe they can manage the responsibility of paying rent every month and being in a normal routine of
even
living.
Some of us have trouble with that.
Sure.
It's pressure.
Absolutely, it is, and for many people, they have had histories that this is part of a cycle, and it's just what they know. Many folks that are on the street need support that's more than just a home. They need mental health services, or they need to get clean and sober and build relationships and support networks that can help them keep that momentum moving forward. Many of them need healthcare services and other type services that make housing sustainable. We talk about a trinity of resources that you have to have in order to have sustainability in life and in community, and that is housing, health, and income. So if you can work and have a place to stay and have people around you, and of course the glue that holds all that together is having good relationships and support network around you.
Because we need that social connection.
We do.
To function.
We need that. And housing helps us stay healthy and employed. Employment helps us maintain our health and our housing. Our health helps us go to work, and it helps us to maintain the home and the lifestyle we've chosen. So as we do that and we're in community together, then those pieces help us move things forward.
So how are we doing on the health side of it, the mental health side? I'd like to hear from both of you on this, but that's an important ingredient, and I know the local law enforcement's trying to do more in that area.
Yes, indeed.
So, yes, before we speak about law enforcement, one thing we spoke about the need that families, and one of the best ways to grow your homeless population is not to care for the families that are homeless. And about 40% of the requests we get are from families. There is a significant correlation between homeless families, trauma with the children who are in their development years, and them not achieving at the same level, and possibly if they grow up with a family member on the streets, them becoming homeless also.
Because you see what you observe is kind of what you become sometimes, right?
Yes, exactly. And we see that a lot with our chronic population. And so, caring for these families and helping our chronic population as well by walking alongside of them and not giving up on them.
Yeah, you asked about mental illness among our homeless population, and there is a significant amount of mental illness among our homeless population, and often co-occurring substance use disorders that kind of go hand in hand with that. And, we don't have some of the same types of residential supportive services that we've had in generations past. And so the idea that folks can use outpatient services and, have a home and family support and that kind of a thing that help them manage their mental health is great for a large number of the people that have mental health issues.
Because they don't just walk into a facility with a card like a lot of us do and it says we have insurance.
That's right.
So they have to overcome that obstacle.
They have to overcome that obstacle, and just sometimes mental illness itself kind of, and the stigma that goes along with that makes it where you kind of want to act like you don't have an issue to deal with. But the truth of the matter is that's a significant part of our homeless population. And so we need additional services and supports there. That's one of the great things that's going to be at the new center is partnerships with mental health providers and counselors and therapists that will actually come to the center and be able to provide services where people are.
And the police department has some of those mental health providers.
They do,
right?
yes. We work closely with the host department and Sergeant Wood and his team. They do a fantastic job. And one of the really good programs, we're also working with Volunteer Behavioral Health to expand that into the new center, is the fact that we have these mental health co-responders with our police that are going to these various different incidents that they go to, and having folks that are trained in providing crisis care, providing mental health services on site, that is just such a valuable tool, and it helps people move in a direction of care and getting better, not just a direction of the cycle of incarceration and release.
Liz, what about volunteers? How does Journey Home use them, and how can people get involved, or what type of training do they need in order to get involved?
So we do use volunteers. We have about 1,000 volunteers that volunteer for us annually.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, and when we get in our new facility, we are going to need even more volunteers.
Okay.
Our plan is certainly to hire some more staff because we will be a 24-hour facility, but we are going to be relying on the community to really help us run our brand new building in a lot of different aspects. And that will be helping us in the front office, helping us in the market, closed closet area, helping us in the cafe, and, mental health services, development, any and all of the above are ways that we will need help with volunteers.
If somebody's watching on YouTube or listening on one of our many platforms, how can they get involved?
The best way for them to get involved is to visit our website and register as a volunteer. And
Love God, Serve People, right?
Yes. If you go to lovegodservepeople.org and go to the Give Help tab, you will see a volunteer registration. And once they get registered as a volunteer, then they will receive emails about our volunteer needs and scheduling them for an orientation so they can come in and learn about the Journey Home and how we serve our clientele. And then we will work with them to place them in the best volunteer opportunity for them where we can use their talents.
Scott, when do you think you will be relocating to the new facility?
We are very hopeful that that we'll be in somewhere around Labor Day of 2025. So just, 8-9 months down the road?
About a year.
And we will hopefully, if everything goes as planned, the foundations are in currently. The plumbing that's in the slab is done and inspected, and I think the electrical inspections for the stuff in the slab are happening maybe today or tomorrow. And looks like the cold weather is going to push us back a day or two from pouring the slab. It happens that way sometimes. But it really should start coming out of the ground even just in the next couple of weeks. So Dow Smith has done a great job for us. They're our general contractor, and they have helped a lot to keep the program on track and moving forward.
Before we wrap it up, is there anything that we didn't discuss or something you wanted to mention, either of you, about this issue?
Well, just with us expanding to our new facility of 20,000 square feet, we certainly want to invite other community members to become involved with our events, and one of which is coming up in early spring. It's on March the 10th, and I would love for anyone who's watching or listening to the podcast to contact me through our website if they want to be more involved in that.
In the event, okay.
Yes.
And that's in March.
March the 10th.
All right.
And there is just one thing I think about this time of the year as we get into the holiday season. The Journey Home is really about community coming together to take care of community. It always has been. And so there are certainly things that we take for granted. And sometimes the holidays are tough times for folks that are in crisis and struggling. And so, I just want to encourage people that this time of year, that kind word on the street, helping in some way, maybe it's through your church or through your schools or sports teams or civic clubs, ways that you can give back to agencies, not just the Journey Home. We've got tons of wonderful nonprofit organizations in our community that are helping others. That's important.
Absolutely.
And this time of the year, we think about that, maybe more so than other times of the year. And so I just want to encourage people, everybody in our community has value, and we want them to be in community with one another so that we can learn from one another, that we can help one another, and that all of us can prosper in the end. And so, it's my encouragement to the community to find ways to get involved, from day-to-day things, sharing with your kids, to speaking kindly to strangers in your community, to getting involved in supporting local nonprofit organizations. It's the right thing to do, and it's community, taking care of community.
All right, good message, Scott, and thanks for what you do, both of you.
Well,
and
thank
Liz.
you for having us.
We've been highlighting the Journey Home with Scott Foster and Liz Couser. The podcast originated from City Hall right here in the City Hall building, And for more information on the City of Murfreesboro, visit murfreesborotn.gov. This has been The Insider. I'm Mike Browning. Thanks for joining us.